specifies that Ferguson's justice system is to be rebuilt, unlawful arrests to be eliminated, and criminal courts to operate independently from prosecutors. It also protects the rights of citizens to video record or take still photos of police officers in the course of their job. Although an agreement was reached, it still requires a public comment period and final approval by the Ferguson City Council. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said in March that federal authorities would completely disband the city's police department if necessary. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the leader of a month-long occupation of a federal wildlife refuge in Oregon urged remaining protesters on Wednesday to leave the site and go home a day after his arrest and the death of a supporter. Ammon Bundy, who was taken into custody with several members of the group at a traffic stop along Highway 395 north of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in southeast Oregon, urged federal authorities to let his comrades leave the compound without being prosecuted. In a statement read by his attorney, Michael Arnold, following a court hearing, Bundy said, "To those remaining at the refuge, I love you. Let us take this fight from here. Please stand down. Please stand down. Go home and hug your families. Please go back." Law enforcement surrounded the refuge and blocked off access roads on Tuesday evening after Bundy and his group were taken into custody at the traffic stop. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A Colorado man reminisced Monday about a simpler time when he only masturbated to still images on the internet. 36-year-old Timothy Barchuk, who now says he requires multiple streaming hardcore videos just to get excited, willfully reflected on the days of waiting for slowly loading images of naked women to appear.
Look at this picture of Phoebe Cates. Sure, you can pull it up in 2 seconds now. Back in the old days, you'd have to wait for it to materialize on your screen pixel by pixel. It's not about her tits, which are nice, but it's about waiting for them. Nowadays, you could pull up 8 different videos of anal sex at once. Who cares?
In local news, the person who will one day become the warlord ruler of what was once Nebraska is born in an Omaha hospital. And in other news, a man and woman get drunk and blow $30,000 in one night. A lonely college student calls up his mom to talk about Harold and Kumar, and another dead body is tossed on a heap somewhere. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. We'll give out the numbers here momentarily for you to be able to call in to join us with whatever is on your mind. And, well, there's more breaking news, not really as breaking as some of the other news regarding Oregon, but there is news nonetheless. This from CBS about the holdouts there in Oregon at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, where they've been, or at least some of them have been, since about January 2nd. And, well, the headline is, "Holdouts in Oregon standoff say they'll leave with one condition." And again, the story here comes from CBS News. One of the last holdouts in the armed takeover of an Oregon wildlife refuge said Thursday the remaining 5 occupiers will leave if they receive assurances that none will be arrested. In a video posted on the YouTube channel Defend Your Base that the group has been using to issue updates during the nearly 4-week-old siege, a speaker believed to be David Fry said the occupiers have been told by authorities that out of the 5 people left here, 4 of us are allowed to leave. The FBI had no immediate comment on the demand. It has said only that it is trying to empty the refuge of the armed occupiers in the safest way possible. The FBI has set up checkpoints around the refuge that was taken over on January 2nd by ranchers and others demanding the federal government turn public land over to local control. So, Chris, I know that this is something that you've been following, at least in some regards. What are your thoughts on this? Where they're saying that they'll leave, but only if they are given assurances that they will not be arrested.
I get where they're coming from, and I think after the violence of a couple days ago, they're rightfully concerned. There is no question that the gloves are off as far as the federal agents are concerned. As far as Oregon State Police goes, I think they set out to demonstrate strength against the occupiers, and I think they're right to be concerned. I certainly would be too.
I think the gloves are off is probably a weak metaphor. We can probably say at this point that the guns are upholstered. I mean, they're not just gonna punch people; they are shooting them in the head.
And they already did that, and we still don't know when Lavoy Finicum was shot. We still don't know if gunshots happened from anyone on the occupier's side, because all of the news reports said shots were fired.
Right.
Well, that could have been that all of the shots were fired by police into or in the direction of Lavoy Finicum.
So I've read or listened to two different accounts of people that were on the ground. One of the accounts was somebody who was inside the vehicle, and that was Shauna. She was in the vehicle that Lavoy was in. And I've also heard an account of one of the gentlemen. He was actually driving the Jeep that Ammon was in. So he wasn't in the vehicle that came under fire, but he saw sort of what led up to the shooting. So there's conflicting stories going back and forth, even amongst the people that were there on the ground, and that's kind of where things are as far as I'm concerned. What I really want to see is some dash cam footage, and that scene was being heavily recorded. What I don't know is if anybody on the occupier side was recording anything.
If I had to guess.
I was going to say, I just think it's interesting that you're referring to this person, Shauna, by name. I have no idea who this person is. And just, we know somebody here locally named Shauna, and I'm just imagining her in this situation.
It was her. No, I'm just kidding, Shauna, if you're listening.
It would be an interesting reaction for her.
No, so regarding dash cam footage, my thoughts are this. Knowing as much as I've seen and heard about various situations to where stuff that, shall we say, a little fishy happens, and, well, don't you know the dash cam just happened to malfunction exactly when the fishy thing happened?
There must have been some crazy weather in the area, like a localized lightning strike caused an EMP, and all of the body cams and all the dash cam is just like, that
they
sort of thing.
They stopped working for 30 seconds, and then they started working again. It's amazing.
Well, and I look at occurrences like that, and that will not surprise me. I think it'll be a cold day in hell when any of us actually see footage of what actually went down from the government's point of view. Unless
we might wind up seeing a government-released video that is absolutely not what happened, but they say it's what happened.
Right.
And there's no other video to refute it. And then when the guys that were arrested go to trial, they say, well, here's video. What do you mean you don't remember it that way? Are you saying that the video is lying? Well, no, I guess I just must have misremembered, I guess.
The one other situation where video will come up, and again, I wasn't there and I don't know what happened, but if the video will come out to prove the government's case that, look, this guy does come out of a vehicle. Look, you can absolutely see, him reaching for a gun. And I believe me, I'm not implying that that's what happened. But if there were some evidence that would strengthen the government's case, then, we'll see that. I don't suspect that exists because I think they would have released it already.
Oh, yeah.
So,
absolutely. And let's go to the phones, and you can call in toll-free, 855-450-FREE. We've got Doug in Oak Forest, Illinois, calling in on government control. Doug, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Johnson. What's on your mind?
Yeah, you know what? I actually got my property bill the other day, one half of it. And here in Illinois, they break it up into two. You get half of it in the beginning of the year, and you get the other half in the later on part of the year. And on my home valued at $150,000, for one half of it, I got to pay a $3,100 property bill. The other $3,100 I pay later on in the year.
Wow.
It really can be wonderful. Yeah.
That's
really
ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's why I'm getting out of here. But
Where are you going?
We're looking out toward Utah and Nevada. For the fact that, I mean, we pay not only the property bill, we pay income. We pay to our town into Illinois on our NICOR bill. We pay on our ComEd, which would be our electric. We pay on our internet. We pay on our phone. We have to have a vehicle decal in our window by the town here that we have to pay $29 or $39.95 a year for.
Is that in addition to the regular vehicle registration?
Correct. Yeah, you have to have it in the window, in the front bottom right-hand part of the window. I mean, you pay on everything. Everything.
It seems to me, I remember hearing something about some state in New England where they don't have a lot of these incidental taxes.
Yeah, we happen to live there.
That's the
New
one,
Hampshire.
New Hampshire. So as you think about Utah and other places out west, please give us a thought. You'll find it a lot more hospitable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm to the point anymore where, we are 50th in the nation. We have $118 billion or $111 billion in pension liability. In addition, in the general fund, they're running over $8 billion short, and they're borrowing money left and right. They've borrowed money all the way back to 1989. They've dug a hole that they're never going to get out of. And in the meantime, people are fleeing Illinois. We're the only one in the nation to show population decline. Year after year, dating all the way back to 2014. I mean, people.
I was going to say, are you a regular listener here? Have you heard of the Free State Project?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, my issue can be that if I want to move, I really have to take into, and you know what, I'm actually thinking about going out to New Hampshire and having a look at it before I determine whether or not we're going to move out to Utah. But my issue, and you're going to find it funny, can be I'm into mountain bike riding, and I like the much kind of warmer weather, which can be why I'm more leaning toward Nevada. I have a family out in Nevada, too. And
well, there are parts of Nevada that do get a lot of snow. And, Doug, I do want to hold you over because I know that you didn't call just to talk about taxation or why you're planning to move to Nevada. But I will hold you over. We'll bring you back. And, of course, we will tell you more about New Hampshire and when you can visit New Hampshire coming up. And, of course, your calls, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Hi, this is Walt Augustinowitz. I'm the founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. By now you've heard our commercials about wallets that protect you from electronic pickpocketing. 10 years ago, I created a way to protect my own cards from prying eyes after government officials started talking about issuing a national ID card with a built-in radio chip called RFID. I felt having to broadcast my personal information was an invasion of privacy. Soon after, it was also announced that credit cards, debit cards, U.S. passports, hotel room keys, and even transit passes would all soon incorporate RFID. It was then I formed ID Stronghold to share my inventions in blocking RFID signals with the world. There are a lot of misconceptions out there today about RFID. I encourage everyone to get informed and get protected. Please go to idstronghold.com and get the facts and the wallet, sleeves, or badge holders you need to protect your personal financial data. You'll be pleasantly surprised that through our direct sales model, you won't pay more than other comparable unprotected wallets. It is as though the protection is free. Visit idstronghold.com today.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Your calls welcome at 855-450-FREE or via Skype to username LRN.FM. We've got Doug on the line from Oak Forest, Illinois. And Doug, we were suggesting that you definitely come check out New Hampshire. And, well, there's an excellent opportunity to do that coming up in just a few weeks. Actually, I believe it's about 4 weeks from today. Actually, it might even be less than that. My math might be off. February 18th through the 21st exactly is when the Liberty Forum, the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, is taking place in beautiful downtown Manchester, New Hampshire at the Radisson Hotel. There will be a lot of various different speeches happening. There will be a lot of various things going on, sort of panels. There's one of the realtors, Mark Warden from Porcupine Real Estate, is going to do buying a house sort of lunch thing to where prospective home buyers will go have lunch, and he'll talk about pros and cons of various places, all of the benefits of buying houses in various parts of New Hampshire. And, of course, there's so much more. Plus, Edward Snowden, keynote speaker Edward Snowden. He won't actually be in Manchester, New Hampshire, but he will be keynoting. He'll be connecting in through, the interwebs in some kind of way. So you do not want to miss that. NHLibertyForum.com is where you can go to find out more about the Liberty Forum. And FreeStateProject.com is where you can find out more about the Free State Project. Doug, we brought you back on because I know that you didn't call necessarily to only talk about the taxes happening there in Illinois and really happening elsewhere across the country. Just some places it's a little less. Although, we in New Hampshire do have property taxes, but we don't have all of the other things that you were talking about. We don't have the income tax. We don't have the general sales tax. We don't have this fee. You were saying you have to get some sort of sticker from your city in addition to the vehicle registration?
Correct. And we have a fee put on our electric bill, on our NICOR bill.
What is NICOR?
NICOR, they're the natural the heating.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Natural gas or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, pretty much what I call for there had been a gentleman that called earlier with Ian and Mark on the air, and he talked about pretty much how collectively people should own everything. And immediately what came into my mind had to do with Daniel. I don't know if you ever heard of the author before, Daniel Gilbert.
Never heard of Daniel Gilbert.
You'd be hard to find anybody more familiar with human behavior in the era that we're living in right now. And he actually brought up a great point. He talked about how they took a plant. They gave each individual in a retirement home a plant, and they told them in the retirement home, you know what, don't touch the plant. We're going to water it. We're going to take care of it. And then in another retirement home, they actually gave each individual in there their own plant, and they told them, you go on ahead and you take care of it. You own the plant. You water it. You take care of it. And they found that the elderly people that were given more control and able to take care of their plant actually lived longer. The data showed. And I think that when you take control away from people, you're actually doing harm to them. You know, you're taking away a natural human behavior. You want to be able to control everything relating to you. You know, and you can't have anarchy, but on the other hand, you can't have a totalitarian government, which can be what we're leaning toward, where they are involved in everything in your life. You know. And I wish that people would look at it from that viewpoint, too. When you have the government control everything for you, you're actually doing harm to people, you know.
And to yourself. I think that's part of your point, too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a great point.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Doug?
No. You know what? While you brought up the point, how are you going to retain the people that are moving to New Hampshire? I know the project will be shutting down. How are you going to ensure that you're going to continue to get people to move there, and the people that are there aren't going to be like leaving? You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting that you know that the process is shutting down, because I don't know that. And I'm here.
We talked about that.
Yeah, there's that right now. The only people that know what is going to happen to the board of directors of the Free State Project, I would guess, is probably the members of the board of directors of the Free State Project, and they've not said what's going to happen after they reach the goal of 20,000 signers of the statement of intent saying that people will move. So we don't know if the board is going to exist in some form through the next 5 years, which is what the statement of intent specifies, is that within 5 years of the Free State Project reaching the goal of 20,000 signers, that people declare their intent to move to New Hampshire for the purpose of exerting the fullest practical effort towards the creation of a society where the maximum role of government is the protection of life, liberty, and property. So, you know, just because we're sitting right now at 19,670 signers of that statement of intent does not mean that the board goes away when we get 330 more signers. The board might exist in some form for the next 5 years to gather the information of who's moving, when they're moving, and try to facilitate that. But to answer the question of how do you prevent someone from moving, well, you don't. So if someone wanted to leave New Hampshire after signing the statement of intent saying they intend to move and then moving, well, you're not moving into a prison camp. You do get to freely leave if you want to.
And I can say, I mean, just from my own personal point of view, the move up here has been the most satisfying move that I've ever made. And hey, I'm not a spring chicken. I've moved around a couple times in my life, but there's not a lot of reason I can think of, and a whole lot of reasons I wouldn't think of moving to other places in the country. I can say I've really grown to enjoy not only the liberty but the camaraderie that New Hampshire has offered me.
And I quite hope that
I might actually come over there and have a look at it, and then I might end up actually liking it, and end up taking the Illinois flag, burning it in my backyard, putting all my furniture into the moving truck, and coming out there.
Well, Liberty Farm's coming up, Pork Fest, those are great events to come and attend. And I really quite hope that the board stays active and continues acquiring signers, because one of the things that you specifically point out is that people can and will leave, and I think that the Free State Project can go well beyond 20,000 signers, and that would be a very, very good thing.
Agreed. Yeah, and my understanding is... Go ahead, Doug.
To be clear, I'm not promoting that people should be prevented from leaving. But what I'm trying to determine can be, okay, if you got all the people there and you're no longer having the attention put upon that anymore, people are going to leave. You know what I mean? It'll be the type of thing where people are going to forget about it.
I don't think people are going to forget about it because things are happening here that don't happen elsewhere. I was up at the State House earlier today, and there was a press conference on a bill to decriminalize prostitution, and one of the people that was there overheard somebody say, "Oh no, there's Free Staters in the State House today." Well, I got a secret for you. When the State House is open, there's Free Staters there. That's what happens in New Hampshire. Your call's welcome, 855-450-FREE.
Removing bad taste and odor from your drinking water is easy. Removing the bad stuff you don't taste is what ProPure does best. Water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure countertop, inline, gravity, and household water filtration products. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com or call 800-544-3533.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online, and I found it. It's buysellmakeoffer.com, a brand new company that's the newest and best way to sell products online. You can even use Skype or video to sell your car, home, any product. You get 30 days free, packages starting from only $7.95, and buysellmakeoffer.com never charges item fees ever. Just go sign up, then load your stuff to sell. I love this site, buysellmakeoffer.com. Got it? Buy, sell, makeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at SurvivorMax.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free call-in line. Or you can be like Kylon and call in using Skype to username LRN.FM. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Johnson.
And we go now to Kylon. And hold on, I've got a video playing somewhere here. So let me try going back. There we go. Kylon, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Johnson. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey, I was just calling about, basically I'm sort of a new libertarian. I've been about for a year. And, I haven't got my full philosophy about it all the way nailed down. So, some thoughts that I think of here is something like, if there's no government, which is kind of what we're trying to accomplish, then who would enact any form of justice for someone whose rights have been violated? So if someone, does stab me or something, who would then be the one that enacts my, I guess, in a way, restitution?
Okay, so I will begin by answering this question, and I think that this is one of the sticking points that a lot of people get into when looking at, how would something work in a free society? Who would provide service X?
Right.
And right now there's, a one-size-fits-all sort of solution for a lot of things. There's who provides X? Well, the government does. Who provides this? Well, the government does. And as you can see with most of those things that the government is providing, they screw things up, and they screw things up horribly. In a free society, they would not be screwing things up because there would not be a monopoly organization overseeing, the implementation of whatever it is, whether it be justice or garbage pickup. And there are places where garbage pickup is not run by government. There are places where, delivery of natural gas is provided by, private companies. So there are situations to where, government's not providing whatever service. So you don't have to worry about, how would this thing that's not a monopoly service now be provided absent a government claiming a monopoly on the providing of the service? Mm-hmm. And so I look at justice in a similar way, to where there are private security firms that do, I would dare say, a better job at preventing crime from happening than what the police do, because the police are responsive. They're not, preemptive on making sure that security is provided. So you have to wait until your car is stolen or your house gets broken into to call the cops. Whereas if you use, one of these private security companies, and we talked about this a few weeks ago in regards specifically to some Seattle neighborhoods that are looking to private security because the Seattle police are not being responsive to their needs. So what these private companies are doing is they're doing random patrols throughout the day through the neighborhood, and just the presence is a deterrent.
Sure.
And you don't have that necessarily with the police. And so then people ask the question of, well, what happens when two security companies get in a shootout and a turf war? And that doesn't happen now. And there are a lot of various private companies that do armored truck services for banks, to where they pick up money from the banks, they deliver money to the banks. And I have never seen Brinks and Wells Fargo get into a turf war over who's delivering money to banks that are right next to one another.
Yeah, and I want to see that.
Yeah, you're missing out, man.
So I have a thought kind of along those lines, but I'm not sure. And I hear this in a lot of different, again, it is Service X and who provides it. But does there always need to be an exact duplicate of a state-provided service in a society? And when I say a society, it doesn't mean, the entire continent of North America that we're occupying. But what if it's my own little town? And what if some guy steals chickens, from somebody else? Well, that guy may just very well take out his own retribution, and there's no need for any organized thing. Communities just sort of have brains, and I think in a lot of cases, some of those things that we unnecessarily involve law enforcement or a judicial system would just kind of go away.
Right. And something else that I want to touch on about, even if there are, a replication in tiny little, Podunkville, that, you've got 3 different companies acting as court, you've got 4 different security agencies, you will not see some of the recklessness that currently happens from police, to where police know they can do pretty much whatever they want, and if they ever go to court, they can claim one of a half a dozen various immunities, and there's never any repercussion.
Well, government responds to their incentives just like everybody else does, and they're incentivized to do so.
Right, and what I was going to say is, if Wells Fargo or Brinks or ADT or any of the other private security companies decided that their response to every time someone had a television stolen from them, they were just going to unleash a flurry of bullets against every car that fit the description of the getaway car, well, there would be lawsuits and reckless behavior acts against these companies. No one would want to do business with them, because why would you want to do business with the security company that just starts shooting up your neighborhood in response? So there would be market incentives to be well behaved and know exactly what it is that you're doing and act responsibly.
Okay, I guess I know you were saying the security companies, the private, would be good for preventing, and I guess I like what you guys were saying, where in a way society could just take responsibility, and that's kind of like what it sounds like. What government is like just a bunch of people that just didn't want to take ownership of a community, so they'd rather just pass it off to a government. So
the claim of government is that governments exist with the consent of the governed, but yet try telling the people that are acting on behalf of the government that you don't consent, and they will say, okay, then leave the geographic area where you live. But I like the geographic area. It doesn't matter. Either you consent to our thuggery or go somewhere else and consent to somebody else's thuggery.
I don't think most people get the option to leave. Usually it's you can be where you're at, or you can enjoy your life in a cell.
And that would require you to leave the physical location where you are to go into a physical location that they want you to be. So in either case, they want you to leave the physical location where you are, or just give them money and shut up and don't say anything.
All right, you got me.
So what I foresee, and what a bunch of other people foresee, is a separation of geography and government.
Okay.
And there is historical precedent on that, to where, in times past, such as in ancient Medina, in Ireland for a long time, and there have been other examples, across parts of Europe, to where there have been what's called polycentric societies, to where you've got overlapping societies, you've got various ethnicities living amongst one another, but they are not beholden to the same governments. And the government, again, it's not tied to a geographic area. And that's what government as we think of it now is. It's a group claiming a monopoly over the legitimate use of force in a given geographic area.
Yeah, I think I read in a blog somewhere that even in a true anarchy, you would still have, kind of types of very localized, very small, minimalistic types of governments. Like
it would be very
church.
minimalistic. Kylon, thank you so much for the call, and your call's welcome. 855-450-FREE.
If you're not a smoker, please cover your ears, because the following incredible free money-saving offer is not for you. The makers of O2 Pure's revolutionary e-cigarette are now giving away free starter kits to all smokers who call in the next 10 minutes. Valued at $99, these starter kits are available for free, but only while supplies last. To guarantee your free kit, simply call in the next 10 minutes. 1-800-691-5458. The advanced O2 Pure design creates a pleasant vapor. There's no foul-smelling smoke and no nasty tar. So you can enjoy the nicotine you love whenever and wherever you are. Even better, you could also save yourself a ton of money, hundreds of dollars a month with O2 Pure. Again, free starter kits are now available to any smoker who calls in the next 10 minutes. This is a radio-only offer, not available in stores, so call now for your free kit. 1-800-691-5458. 1-800-691-5458. 1-800-691-5458.
This is a healthcare alert from the Pain Relief Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You don't have to suffer any longer. You can immediately qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you by calling our 24/7 Pain Relief Hotline at 866-389-0620. Delivery is free and all paperwork is handled for you. If you are on Medicare and have knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain, don't wait. You can qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost by calling our 24/7 Pain Hotline now at 866-389-0620. Our representatives are standing by 24/7 to take your call and rush you your pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and all paperwork is handled for you. Just call 866-389-0620. That's 866-389-0620. Again, 866-389-0620.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. Following sharp increases yesterday, in early trading on Wednesday, gold is $2 lower at $1,118 per ounce. Silver is down 3 cents at $14.54 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $395 US. We have plenty of new 2016 Silver American Eagles in stock. Get yours online at rrbi.co or give us a call at 800-874-9760.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free call-in line where you can call in tonight with whatever is on your mind. In studio tonight is Darryl.
Chris.
And Johnson.
And back to the phones and to the topic that we started the show on, the Oregon standoff. We've got Keith calling from Denver to talk about Oregon. Keith, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going? So, yeah, I've kind of noticed two different things. We've been talking about contractors and law enforcement versus, federal and state. And some of the guys I know from Oregon have said that this is Oregon State Patrol. Some have said FBI. I don't know. It's a whole mess, basically. But I have two different sides of the fence on contractors from personal friends. I have contractors who were contracted in Afghanistan and Iraq and, other clandestine places around the world who are on the bandwagon of freedom. And then I have other friends that are contractors that are on the bandwagon of authoritarianism and support everything a Leo does, no matter what it is.
Why are they still your friends?
Yeah. Huh? Say again?
Why are they still your friends?
Wow.
That would be my question.
I wouldn't call them friends, maybe.
Acquaintances? You have acquaintances.
Yeah. I have acquaintances who are.
I don't know. Everybody else in the studio cringed when I asked that question, so I'm just, I'm kind of like, I'm, the one who was just like,
I was laughing when you asked the question.
Okay.
I understand. I'm on the freedom bandwagon, and even then, I'm technically, supposedly, a leadership part of the organization that was doing the Oregon thing. Even though we didn't condone it, they did it anyways. We told them not to. They kept going. We're like, we're not sure if we're going to take part in this because we don't know if it's really right or not. But point being, we're here. It's happened. Now what? I mean,
right.
Like I said, we have friends that are contractors that are actively involved in the Bundy situation from years ago that were there, and they're not federal. They were contracted as a private military contractor on American soil, and yet, like I said, you've got the split. You've got friends that are Leos, who I respect and admire, but at the same time are still jackbooted thugs. And you've got the guys on the freedom side who still want to defend the country and don't know what to do when their best friend is on the other side of the fence. I mean, it's.
I'm just,
I don't know.
I'm just, the annoying one tonight, because when you say American soil, do you mean privately owned or federal soil?
That kind of goes to the heart of the question of Oregon, too.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly the point. So on the eastern side of Colorado, you have heavily monitored, regulated land.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's private or government. It doesn't matter. It's heavily regulated. You go to the western side, it's fairly loose in regulations, and you can go play on BLM all you want.
Right.
Until a couple years ago. And then
not all you
shut
want.
all the trails down.
Yeah, there's certain things you can't do, even though supposedly it's there for everybody. So I guess my question is this. I mean, you're specifically talking about military contractors or people that have done government work before, and I got a lot of friends. And first of all, Johnson, I'm not afraid to call people that I disagree with. They are still friends, and I've got a lot of neocon friends, and I've got anti-liberty friends, but I work on them.
It's not my fault that I just, question them, and then that, turns from a philosophical conversation into trolling, and then they unfriend me.
I get that. I get that.
They decide to not be around me anymore.
One of my best friends was liberty-minded, and very liberty-minded. Listen to Free Talk Live. He went through I'm not going to name the institution, but he went through a law enforcement academy somewhere over here in the western states region. And he came out, became a deputy for the jails, for the sheriff's, some county sheriff's deputy. And he became a total authoritarian from voting for Rand Paul and campaigning for Ron Paul.
Wow.
Into we need to elect Trump.
I don't see many people go that direction. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm just not.
People go in that direction now.
I'm not surprised that you see, in your mix of friends, or in any occupation or any group of people, you're gonna have those people that like the security of knowing that there is an all-powerful state there to look after them. And
Do they want the old
I'm just not that
America, or
guy.
do they want freedom? I mean,
I think they.
not really.
We were taught a very different version of freedom, at least when I went to school, of what real
You're
freedom
right.
is.
We're from Colorado. I mean, heck,
Right.
in 1976, we denied the Olympics because we didn't want more people coming to the state. Now we passed legalization of a particular plan, which is awesome, very, libertarian. However, it's brought more unintended consequences than we've even realized, which is not bad. It's just, it is what it is.
And there's a question of whether it's actually unintended.
Well, and that's the thing. We tend to claim that, oh, look, the crime rate's dropped 10%, but the problem is the crime rate's actually dropped 20% if you include marijuana charges. If you don't include marijuana charges, it's actually grown 10%. So without that factor, we have to really recognize, I mean, we did the right thing. We did. The question is, will other states follow suit, A, and B, do we really give all the money to a bloated system of schools? I mean, the administrators get the money, the teachers don't get the money, the students don't get the money, the administrators do.
Hopefully,
they can take out $500,000 loan.
Hopefully, more states do follow suit and do not wind up creating a bloated tax and regulate scheme. Keith, thank you for the call. We now go back to Skype and to Uruguay, where we have Stephen calling in. Stephen, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Johnson. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys. The previous caller was talking about who, if not the state, would provide retribution for someone who did a crime or a theft. And I wanted to point out that this is a great opportunity for insurance companies, for people to buy insurance against crime. That way, if there was a crime, the insurance company would be responsible for repaying the person who was attacked. And if it was cost effective, they would go after the guy and take back the property. Or if he was a real threat to the community, they would have a monetary incentive to go and remove him from the community or otherwise make it more safe.
Okay, and I want to play devil's advocate here for a second, Stephen. Wouldn't the people that live in poor neighborhoods just not be able to get insurance because they live in high crime areas?
I would say that the people that live in poor neighborhoods would not be able to get as good of insurance. Right. It would further stratify the difference between different communities. So safer communities would become more safe, and they would be more restrictive about who would be entering into their communities. And less desirable neighborhoods would potentially be less safe. But yeah, it would make more safe communities even safer, and it would reduce the cost for guarding against theft and crime in those areas.
So let me now ask this question of, how would it really be any different than how it is now, to where there are some neighborhoods that police just do not go into because it is such a violent neighborhood that the cops don't even want to go in there to investigate crimes?
Well, it would provide a monetary incentive for people in the community to make the area safer. So, for instance, if people installed cameras all around to try to prevent crime, the price of their insurance would go down. So there would be an actual market incentive for people to make the place safer. And you are right. The places that aren't very safe would have to pay a lot of money for insurance. And probably the best people there would leave and form other communities.
Right.
And the unsafe places would start to dissolve.
Excellent. Anything else to add?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also, the caller, he was concerned about retribution.
Yes.
He was concerned about retribution. I'm not sure there actually needs to be retribution in most crime cases. Like, if the person is paid back for the things that are stolen, they don't necessarily need to go get the criminal. But also, tonight after Free Talk Live, it's Flaming Freedom, the gayest show on the interwebs.
And you can find that on LRN.FM. That's the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. And that is the Skype username. Or you can call in toll-free 855-450-FREE.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Are you an experienced Uber or Lyft driver with excellent ratings? If so, then you're ready to upgrade to Arcade City. Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers for drivers. It's more decentralized than Uber and Lyft. With Arcade City, you keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, January 28, 2016. Silver is trading at $14.47 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,122 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $385. Antiwar.com reports ongoing tensions between Iraq's central government and the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG. Looks like they're going to be getting much worse, with Kifa Mahmoud, an advisor to the Kurdish president, reporting that the KRG has agreed to a referendum on declaring independence from Iraq. The Kurds have had long-standing ambitions to secede from Iraq, and officials have talked up the idea of withdrawing from Iraq as soon as the war with the Islamic State is over. The United States government has opposed this, saying they want a unified Iraq. The biggest question arising from a possible secession of Kurdistan is what territory they'll take with them, as early in the Islamic State war they seized key oil-producing regions, including Kirkuk, and more recently have been expelling Arabs from the Sinjar area to try to make it a Kurdish Yazidi-dominated region as well. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider Abadi's office offered a warning against any unilateral votes by the Kurdistan Regional Government, saying a vote would be against the Constitution and illegal. The central government has seen the risk of secession coming for a while and has pushed against arming the Kurds to fight against the Islamic State on fear that the heavily armed Kurdish Peshmerga would be able to fight a war of secession. The legal question may matter less and less as time goes on, however, as the Peshmerga has gotten a lot of weaponry and Iraq's military is scarcely in a position to contest a secession by anyone, with so much of the country already under control of the Islamic State. Iraqi Kurdish secession could also fuel a regional split with the Kurdish YPG in northeastern Syria and growing Kurdish unrest in southeastern Turkey. Both of those countries could find themselves looking to join a unified Kurdistan. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports an agreement between the United States Department of Justice and the city of Ferguson, Missouri seeks to completely overhaul the city's system of justice and eliminate unlawful arrest, according to documents released on Wednesday. The agreement is the result of many months of investigating by justice officials into the protocols and practices of Ferguson Police Department following the controversial death of Michael Brown. The accord specifies that Ferguson's justice system is to be rebuilt, unlawful arrest to be eliminated, and criminal courts to operate independently from prosecutors. It also protects the rights of citizens to video record or take still photos of police officers in the course of their job. Although an agreement was reached, it still requires a public comment period and final approval by the Ferguson City Council. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said in March that federal authorities would completely disband the city's police department if necessary. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the leader of a month-long occupation of a federal wildlife refuge in Oregon urged remaining protesters on Wednesday to leave the site and go home a day after his arrest and the death of a supporter. Ammon Bundy, who was taken into custody with several members of the group at a traffic stop along Highway 395 north of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in southeast Oregon, urged federal authorities to let his comrades leave the compound without being prosecuted. In a statement read by his attorney, Michael Arnold, following a court hearing, Bundy said, "To those remaining at the refuge, I love you. Let us take this fight from here. Please stand down. Please stand down. Go home and hug your families. Please go back." Law enforcement surrounded the refuge and blocked off access roads on Tuesday evening after Bundy and his group were taken into custody at the traffic stop. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A scary day in Virginia after a mass shooting at the offices of Slash Forward Marketing. Management described the violent scene as incredibly inopportune if the company wants to hit its sales goals.
Gunshots were first heard around 9:40 a.m. VP of Sales Ken Miller placed the first 911 call.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello? Someone is shooting everyone at our office. Can you guys do something about this? We really can't afford to lose focus right now.
The alleged shooter, Brian Henderson, a Slash Forward employee, was described by Miller as a so-so salesman and a, quote, candy ass who obviously couldn't howl with the big dogs. Slash Forward management said the company is rattled to the core by this poorly timed shooting.
It was horrible, really. But hashtag Pray for Slash Forward is trending, and we are getting tons of media exposure, so I think we're going to survive.
Donations for the families of victims are pouring into the company website, as are applications for the 18 job openings listed immediately after the shooting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Kicking off hour number 2, and of course you can call in with your thoughts on pretty much anything. We've been talking tonight, started off talking about the Oregon standoff at the Malheur National Wildlife Reserve, where the remaining occupiers there's about 5 of them, they're saying that they will leave on one condition, and that condition is they want assurances that they will not be arrested when they try to leave. We also had a couple of callers call in to talk about how justice would work absent a coercive government like we have now. And, of course, your calls welcome. Again, 855-450-FREE, or you can do like a couple of callers have done so far tonight and call in on Skype to username LRN.FM. And we go back to Skype. We've got Brian calling in. Brian, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Johnson. What's on your mind? Hello, Brian. All right, I think the sound card may have gone. We'll try fixing that here momentarily. And until I get a chance to do that, we will go to Ralph in New Jersey. Ralph, you're on Free Talk Live. Let me guess, Obama, white liberal, guilty.
You're right on the mark, you know. Of the mark, again with me, and you know that.
You have a horrible phone connection there, Ralph.
Are you on a cell phone?
Okay, yes. Let me go outside.
That's better
okay,
now.
Yes. Go outside, and hopefully the phone connection is better.
Okay. It doesn't take long for me to look. I'm outside now.
Okay.
It doesn't take long for me to look at the news, and lo and behold, you got the issue of race regarding this, poopa about Michael Jackson and a white actor being cast in a Michael Jackson role. Matter of fact, the Daily News, daily newspaper out of New York, the banner headline here says, PWT, pretty white thing, okay? That, then the boycott about, the boycott in Hollywood over the lack of black representation in Tinseltown, okay? You also got that situation in Flint, Michigan. This is because clear to me that this is about the issue of race. At least I'm not the one who is calling it, for what it is. Hillary Clinton has called it about the issue of race. Mike Gilmore has called it about the issue of race. Matter of fact, you guys can check out the Time magazine regarding this, Poison in an American City. Now, I would join everyone who calls for, the governor of Michigan, that's Rick Snyder, I believe is his name.
Yes.
Okay. To resign. Okay. He definitely needs to resign. And I would like for Chris Christie on the campaign trail to raise that issue about what's going on there in Flint, Michigan. But that being said,
why only Chris Christie? Why should all of the other candidates not?
Because he is a white guilty. That's why. Because the man is a white guilty.
All of the Republicans that are running, aside from Ben Carson, are white. So why are you only picking on Chris Christie?
You see, I always knew that there is some kind of racism, with you.
You're the one that brought up race, Ralph.
That's so bad. You gotta fool yourself. Come on.
Ralph, you're the one that brought up race, and I'm just mentioning that all of the Republicans, aside from Ben Carson, happen to have a skin tone that looks like mine, but you're mentioning only one of them.
But he's not from Michigan. He's from Baltimore, okay?
None of them are from Michigan. The one that's closest to Michigan is John Kasich.
Yeah. Chris Christie's not from Michigan. Donald Trump is not from Michigan. We could just keep going.
Because he cares about it. This is a man who goes around the country and talk about how he cares deeply about issues pertaining to blacks. And, he always have the black foremost in his priority. Now, but that being also said, the bigger question or issue here is, does Black Lives Matter to Obama? Okay. What exactly is Obama doing with regard to that situation in Flint, Michigan, other than releasing $5 million, which is nothing, not a whole lot of money to ameliorate the situation there, okay? Or running his mouth, talking platitudes. That's basically what Obama is doing here.
Well, my problem with the whole Flint... I'm sorry. My problem with the whole
Yeah.
Flint, Michigan thing is here we have a problem that was basically created by government.
Yes.
And
At all levels.
The solution, at all levels. This isn't Obama.
It wasn't just the state government. It wasn't just the county government, and it wasn't just the city government
Or the national
it was
government.
All of
you
them.
all agree with
Right.
You all agree with me, however, though, that
Right.
it more than takes an apology from Governor Snyder here. He needs to really step down.
I think that every elected official needs to step down.
Republican running, it's Chris Christie, really, that we would be, going after and telling. Remember now, Chris Christie is the Republican Governors Association, something like that. He's the head of that. That's the reason why I'm pinning the whole thing on Chris Christie.
So I was
He's
hoping
the
you
head of the Republican governors. At this point in time, as far as we know, he's the head of the Republican governors. Okay, that's the reason why I'm, aside from the fact that Chris Christie is also somewhat like a white guilty kind of individual, like all three of you. He cannot
Me?
live out in this
What am I guilty of?
Yeah, what I do.
Yeah, well, look at the man in the mirror is all I'm going to say.
Hey,
Look at the man in the mirror.
I've never
Please,
spoke with you on the air.
Look at this. Every call, I'm being portrayed as a racist, right?
You're the one that keeps
said,
bringing up ethnicity.
But this is, like I said, racism, racism is not a two-way deal. The blacks they're always victimized. You always portray them as they can never be,
I'm not victimizing anybody, Ralph, and I don't like that you're accusing me of doing that or being guilty because somebody else victimized somebody.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that Joseph Fiennes has been victimized by this call because he, great in Shakespeare in Love. But now we're picking on him because he's being he got chosen for playing Michael Jackson. I want to get to the tough issues of the day.
Ralph has victimized everyone that listens to this show with his call, claiming that we're all somehow guilty of something. And I still, half of the time, I can't really understand what exactly it is that he's talking about. Other than Obama, white liberal guilt, and then he'll throw in something that, is kind of a coherent thought.
Yeah, kind of.
I think if Ralph paid attention to, like, Stacey Dash, his head would explode.
What is Stacey Dash?
Stacey Dash is an actress who was famous. One of her most famous movies was she was in Clueless a long time ago. She's now a news anchor for Fox. And specifically, she's black and says that, for example, Black History Month shouldn't exist, and makes some very, very interesting arguments about race that a lot of other people in the black community are not making. And I think it would make Ralph's head explode to hear some of the things she has to say on race.
Possibly. So, Ralph, if you're still listening, look up Stacey Dash and read some of her thoughts on things and call us back sometime later. And if you're listening, you can call us now, 855-450-FREE, or on Skype using LRN.FM. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you suffering with hearing loss? Are you sick of people constantly complaining that your TV is too loud? Are you tired of asking people to speak up? Would you like to hear more clearly, but you don't want to wear a hearing aid that makes you look old? Then you need to try Listen Clear, a life-changing breakthrough precisely designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. And you can adjust Listen Clear to find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And right now you can try Listen Clear absolutely risk-free with free shipping. We'll even give you free batteries for life. So call now. 1-800-719-9349. Listen Clear is lightweight and completely hassle-free, and it's practically invisible. Call for your 100% risk-free home trial with free shipping and free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-719-9349. That's 1-800-719-9349. 1-800-719-9349.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free call-in line, where you can call in to talk about whatever is on your mind. And tonight, it's Darryl,
Chris, and Johnson.
And we'll get back to your calls in just a moment. But first...
It sounded for a minute there like you were suggesting that we were on their mind.
We might be. We might be. You never know.
We got fans.
We do have fans, and you know what those fans like to do? They like to buy things. Not necessarily for us, but, people buy things for themselves. And sometimes they might actually buy a fan. Something, an oscillating fan, a ceiling fan. And you can buy those from places like Amazon. You can buy almost anything from Amazon. And when you shop at Amazon, if you just start by going to shop.freetalklive.com, then Free Talk Live gets a portion of what you spend. It doesn't cost you anything extra. Amazon just, they like people that send them customers, and, well, we're hoping that we are people that send them customers, and we're hoping that you are the customer and that you start your shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
If I had the money, I'd get one of them Dyson fans, the air movers. Those things are insane.
The thing without the bladeless.
Yeah, that's the bladeless fan that it feels like you're sitting outside in a breeze. It's amazing feeling. And they make one that's a heater too. That's
one thing that's wonderful about the bladeless blade-less fans is you can like stick your hand through the little hole and you don't have to worry about a blade hitting you,
Yeah.
which
That's an
winds
important
up
safety tip.
not increasing your insurance rates. And we've got Brian calling in on Skype who wants to talk about insurance and says that it's a false solution in a free market. Brian, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, am I coming in through?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, you are.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to that, the other caller, and in general to a lot of libertarians who've adopted this. I guess you can call it a meme. That
So, but
insurance is
before you continue, just to catch people up that might not have heard the previous caller, there was a question asked about how would justice work in a truly free society. And we had a caller call in to say that, well, one solution would be that people would have insurance and insurance would wind up covering people and protecting people. And that's certainly, how some people envision a free society would work. And other people envision a free society as working differently. And Brian, you are one of those that envision it working differently.
Yes, in particular because it's not the panacea that libertarians think it is.
Some libertarians.
Yeah, it's some libertarian. It's not everybody that claims to be a libertarian that wants to replace, the government that we have now with what I would call a government by insurance company or government by contract.
Of course, but you can almost say it's like one of the top 2 or 3, hypothetical solutions that libertarians always propose among DROs and stuff. I think those two are probably the top 2, right?
I don't know. It's something that I've only heard people talk about it in like the last year and a half, but apparently some people think that it's, like the most popular libertarian concept, but it's not something that I subscribe to.
So
okay.
Please continue with your thought, though.
Yeah, insurance is, it does not work. I mean, okay, so insurance is supposed to be a risk pooling method, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't work when the party purchasing the insurance has any control over the outcome of the risk he's protecting against, right? So it's called moral hazard or risk compensation or the Peltzman effect.
Sure.
Well, yeah, so it's essentially like it's a safety net effect. If you know you have some safety net, you're going to act more recklessly. Not only that, there's problems of adverse selection and stuff.
Right, and that's one of the things that you see a lot with health insurance now, to where health insurance covers absolutely everything. If car insurance worked the same way, then no one would ever have to pull out a credit card or cash to fill up their gas tank. No one would ever have to pay out of pocket for an oil change because, well, my insurance covers it.
Well, you could buy an insurance policy, I'm sure, that would cover all those things. But I think the pragmatic question I have for you is, let's take car insurance because that's a good example. Because I am insured against crashing my car, I don't know how much more reckless that causes me to drive. You know what I mean? It may a little bit, but probably not a lot, and probably not so much to make me risk my life and limb in doing so. So I guess where I'm kind of going with this is, would people not also practice the same thing in some form of insurance against criminal activity or things like that? And believe me, I'm not
people right now have homeowners insurance, but they still lock their doors.
Sure. But I'm trying to get back to the caller, and I'm just saying I agree absolutely, and I understand what you're talking about with moral hazard, but is that not something that can be discovered through actuarial research and actuarial tables, that you can't count in this sort of fudge factor for how people may alter their behavior?
Sure. If you're an actuary, you can account for this stuff, but essentially what you're doing is it's like adding friction to a system when it doesn't need to be there, right? So you're introducing a change of behavior that you're essentially going to charge him for again. It's going to be like a warring game. Also, the people most likely to buy insurance will probably have some asymmetric information, right? They'll know something about themselves that they won't disclose to the insurer. Then it's like a never-ending game of trying to to compensate for people not to, and it's like a big waste.
Do you see insurance as having a role anywhere?
So insurance applies in rare events, number one, and number two, only when the person taking out the insurance policy has no control over the outcome, right? So when you're talking about defending against crime, right, the person has direct control over the outcome. And
certainly someone could never leave their house. Someone could never go to the grocery store and leave their house unoccupied. They could never fall asleep because
this is under your direct control. So this is the problem here. But he has to have absolutely no control over the outcome of what he's insuring against.
But let me say this. How about if we start Chris's insurance company and I decide that I want to insure people against crime? Can't I personally account for these variations that may come due to human action? And can I hire great actuarial experts to try to figure this stuff out? Why would that not work? Or why should I not be able to risk my own money to do that?
And Brian, don't answer yet because there's not time for an answer to that question. So, think on it, and we'll get your answer to that in just a moment. And, of course, your thoughts, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live. What do you think? Is insurance only protecting people that want to burn their old house down? Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, Pat Matthews here to tell you all about the newest and best way to sell your products online. It's buysellmakeoffer.com, a brand new site to sell your stuff online. Your golf clubs, sports equipment, tools, and yes, even your car. Forget about the other guys. Buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge you item fees. Go to the website now and sign up so that you can soon load all your stuff up to sell. This is not an auction site. Just use our resources along with Skype and videos to sell your items quickly and with no fees. Go right now to user-friendly buysellmakeoffer.com, where the first 30 days are on us.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Mere days before his upcoming relocation to Denver, Colorado, 4-year Chicago resident Paul Marsden admitted today that he wished he had taken a little more time to truly loathe the city he has lived in for nearly half a decade.
I've been here for a couple years, but now that I'm finally leaving, I realize I never really got to hate this place.
Marsden confirmed that in the time he's lived in the city, he never quite managed to explore his own shitty neighborhood, adding that he regrets never getting to know the stuck-up workers at the cafe down the block, never visiting the overpriced bodega on his corner, and never becoming violently ill from the food at the crappy Mexican place across the street from him.
I lived right next to that bar for 4 years, and I just wish I took more time to abhor the disgusting smell that hits you every time you walk by. I'd always heard this place blows. Guess it's a shame I never got to hate it like I should.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 90% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. If you're a regular reader of freekeene.com, you know there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Your calls welcome at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Or you can do like a couple of people have done earlier tonight and call in on Skype to username LRN.FM. Tonight in studio is Darryl,
Chris,
and Johnson.
And we'll go back to Brian calling in on Skype. Just to sort of recap, there was a call earlier in the show where the guy asked the question of how would justice work in a truly free society absent government? And then there was another caller that called in to say that he thinks that justice would work because everybody would have insurance, and insurance companies would provide protective services and basically ensure that they didn't have to pay out claims. Brian is saying that, well, no, in point of fact, the only people that buy insurance are people that effectively are going to try to game the system, that people only buy renter's insurance if they know that somebody is going to break into their apartment and steal things, or if they know that their apartment's going to catch fire, or that people only buy car insurance because they know that they're going to wind up getting into some kind of a car accident and they don't want to have to pay to repair the car. Brian, would you say that I'm fairly summarizing your thoughts here, or
Yes.
am I way off?
No, that's fair.
So,
also,
are you a socialist, just out of curiosity, or a collectivist?
No, I'm the same caller who called in yesterday because I was against rights.
Okay.
I'm a free market anarchist. But
okay. So
I'm
if you're
not an
free
Austrian.
market anarchist, so in any transaction, wouldn't you say that both parties are trying to get the upper hand?
Of course.
So how is it any different for insurance?
Because it transfers risk artificially. Like you're transferring the interest in it.
Why?
There's no
You're
need
trying
for
to buy a product where you're trying to be, gain compensation if something happens, and then the insurer understands their end of the transaction, and both of you are trading because you think you're both going to be better off for it.
So here's the problem, right? So the insurer's trying to take advantage of the law of large numbers, right? The averages. The problem is when you can choose to buy insurance or not, right?
Right.
It becomes a game of adverse selection. So with car
But
insurance,
isn't that what all financial transactions between two parties are?
Wait, in order for it to make it work, right? You need to make everyone buy insurance. That's why they do this for car insurance. So so you take away the game of adverse selection by forcing everybody to buy it. Right?
Well, how about New Hampshire, where we don't have car insurance? We don't have a mandate to purchase car insurance.
Let me put it in another analogy, right? Do you ever buy insurance when you play blackjack?
I don't think that would be a. Oh, I know what you're saying.
Well,
yeah, I do sometimes.
Do smart people buy insurance for blackjack?
Hey, if you're splitting,
you're never supposed to buy insurance.
Sometimes sometimes it makes sense. That's not true at all.
So I get that in blackjack because this is a game of odds, but when you look at the fact that the insurance industry can be traced back literally to like 1750 BC in the Code of Hammurabi, which dealt with insuring sailing vessels. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that the market, if you are a free market anarchist, has probably spoken and said that there are some uses for insurance, seeing how it's got close to, over 3,000 years of existing in the marketplace. How would you counter that?
A lot of it's forced, right? I mean, well,
no,
it's as an actuary,
people are not forced to have renter's insurance. Most people are not forced to have fire insurance against their house. And, you were saying earlier that, people, it only makes sense to buy insurance if you do not completely control, or if you do completely control the situation. And I made the point of, a homeowner could decide that they are never going to fall asleep, they're never going to leave to go to the grocery store, and they're going to make sure that they're always sitting right in front of their door to protect their house.
No,
and I don't think anybody in their right mind would do that.
Here's the rational alternative, right? Instead of paying the premiums, you put that toward defense. So you take on the burden directly, but you're paying someone directly for defense instead of the risk transfer, right?
Okay, and then what happens when your savings wind up getting stolen when you happen to have wound up needing to go to the grocery store?
What's hypothetical? You get your savings when you go to the grocery store?
You're saying that instead of buying insurance, you should save your money for if your stuff gets stolen. And so I'm saying, what happens if your stuff winds up getting stolen while you happen to go? Because you do understand, Brian, understand that people have to buy groceries, right?
Do you understand transferring risk doesn't get rid of risk, right?
Of course
I never said it did.
Right, we understand that part.
No,
I never said it did. Here. So you're putting a burden of claim on me that I never made.
So no, but you're assuming that taking out insurance somehow makes getting stolen from okay. Like no one's going to get hurt.
No.
I never said that it's okay to steal from people.
Someone's going to lose assets in a theft.
Yeah. And if I have an unsafe house, if I don't protect my house, let's say cameras and burglar alarms, I don't lock my doors and my house keeps getting robbed, then my insurance premium is going to go up, so I'm going to lose there.
Even if you do lock your doors, people can still break in through the window. People can still break in no matter what happens. Brian, thank you for the call.
The irony there is he's like, yeah, smart people don't ever bet insurance. No, smart people are the people who can count cards, who know when to take insurance because they know when it's a good bet.
That's a good point.
Right, and
sorry.
When it comes to homeowners insurance, people realize that sometimes you have to leave your house and you can't set up a mobile gun turret on top of your house to shoot anybody that walks onto the property.
Well, and where he was coming from, he was saying, insurance only works when it's mandatory. I said that's when it works the least.
Right,
I mean,
and
that's
you
when,
can see that best with health insurance and car insurance.
Right.
And, the other thing about insurance, too, I should say, the blackjack argument, too, is you don't even need to be a genius enough to count cards. You just need to be good enough at reading faces and know, like, oh, does this dealer seem to have blackjack?
Yeah.
Oh, I should take out insurance. There are some dealers out there who will actually, like, hint at you. There are really
Do
like.
Do you
people...
want to take insurance?
Right.
Are you sure?
Exactly.
Are you sure you don't want to take insurance?
It's crazy that they do this too, because you'd think that they would lose their jobs, but
no, I've had that guy before.
Right. Because they're trying to get you to bet before. They're trying to be nice to you so you don't lose.
They're trying to keep you at the table.
They're trying to keep you at the table to make more money.
Right.
And let's go to Tom in New Hampshire. Hopefully Tom doesn't have postpartum depression, but Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, there's this study, a news story that's been picked up by a lot of news media that about a push to have screening for postpartum depression. Make it every new mother should be screened for postpartum depression, which sounds like a beautiful idea to morons who don't understand how the system works. First of all, it's backed by a bureaucracy with a scary name, U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. Okay.
Anything with task force in the name is probably not a good idea.
Also, preventive services sounds really scary.
Say something like that, and it's the opposite.
Well, the men in the white suits with big guns. Okay, this is what I read out of that. And I was thinking, of course, they see this screening, kind of like when I was arrested one time, and they do this routine thing called a suicide screening. And the first question is, are you sad? And I thought, I didn't know what this was about, but I declined any of the questions, and that was that. And I was out shortly thereafter. But what's going on here is a lot worse than people being worried about being committed and being locked up and drugged and subjected to electric shock therapy and maybe even committed.
All right, hold that thought, Tom. Hold the thought. We want to learn more about the mandatory postpartum depression screening task force thing here on Free Talk Live, 855 450 free.
Think you're fat? You might just be bloated. Find out by calling now for a free trial of New Biotics, the new breakthrough that flattens bloated bellies fast. For a free trial, call 1-800-965-1170.
I used to be plagued by potbelly and constant bloating. After taking New Biotics, my belly flattened and continues to get flatter. My sense of bloating and discomfort is gone.
If you've got a big belly, you might not be fat. You might just be bloated. New Biotics is scientifically formulated with natural ingredients to flatten bloated bellies fast by cleansing pounds of rotting food and toxic sludge from your body. It even combats periodic heartburn and acid reflux. So just think how much better you'll look and feel. Think you might be bloated? Call now for a free trial of New Biotics and see how much flatter it makes your belly. You might be surprised. But hurry, call now for details while these free trials last. 1-800-965-1170. That's 1-800-965-1170. 1-800-965-1170.
You're fired. According to the Small Business Administration, 75% of small businesses plan to eliminate jobs or reduce workers' hours to part-time. You're fired. According to Gallup, the unemployment rate recently jumped to nearly 9%, and the underemployment rate hit a staggering 17.9%. You're fired. 1 out of 3 young adults and 1 out of 2 recent college graduates are underemployed. Hello, I'm Keith Abel, a pharmacist and a home business entrepreneur. In 2011, I became one of those statistics myself. Instead of looking for another job in corporate America, I joined Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. We're creating steady incomes for ourselves and would like to show you how to do the same. If you want to supplement your current income, replace your income, so you don't have to become one of the statistics, then give me a call toll-free at 866-257-3105, 866-257-3105. You're fired. Don't wait till you hear those words. Start creating an extra income today. 866-257-3105.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Sleep management.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Tom in New Hampshire on the line calling out about a proposal that this is the first I've actually heard of it. Something called the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force came out with a recommendation that all new mothers be screened for postpartum depression. Tom, you're back on Free Talk Live. Continue with your thoughts.
By the way, I just want to mention that I don't find anything in the Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution to cover Congress shall have power to require screening for postpartum depression.
I don't see anything in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution that allows the Congress to do about 70% of what the Congress does.
I'll go to 90
but
on
that's
that.
neither here nor there.
Hey, guys, guess what year the U.S. Preventative Service Task Force was created?
When?
2009.
Incorrect.
Anyway.
1984.
Oh, really?
How's that appropriate?
Yeah, Reagan year. All right.
Yeah. Especially since they're working on the George Orwell thought crime police principle of locking people up on the mere suspicion of what they call, they bureaucrats actually label it suicidal ideation.
Right.
Okay, that's the official name for that George Orwell thought crime. But I had thought, gee, they're going to be worried about being locked up and being drugged and subjected to electric shock and maybe being committed and all that other stuff. But what the more mothers are worried about is that the state is going to snatch their baby away if they don't score very well on the test.
Right.
So, of course, all of this stuff is useless. And they look at a few of the horror stories and, of course, the success stories. You ask the hostages, do you want to get committed or do you feel better now? And they say they feel better, so we can tally up all these success stories. But the horror stories where, involuntary hospitalization might have saved them, but what does it say on the New Hampshire license plates? Live free or die. You can't win them all. They have to be able to face rejection, that they have qualified themselves as the enemy the minute that they start bringing in gun-toting goons in bulletproof vests, and the hostages reject the excuse that it's for their own good. And a lot of these people never had anyone that actually cared about them except people who want to punish them and control them. All their life, it's like brush your teeth, do your homework, don't drink that, don't smoke that. And they don't actually care about the person. They just want to feel superior to that person. And there's a whole lot of that going on. And what they have to do is eliminate the threat of being locked up. It's just the same. Why don't these people go to a facility and get the help that they want? It's kind of like asking why they don't go into your house and get your TV when they want it. They might get locked up. They never know ahead of time what's going to happen if they do that.
Can you summarize? I mean, is there any teeth to this? And I did Google it, and I did check out kind of what the recommendation is, but is this yet another one of those things that government comes up with and says, here's a great idea, we should do this, and it doesn't go anywhere? Is there more to this story that it's got sponsors in Congress or something like that?
There was one, I can't remember her name, congresswoman who was in favor of this. I called up her congressional office. She's from Massachusetts. I asked the aide to send me some more information, because it's like, oh yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but what happens when they refuse the screening? What happens next? And you've got to answer that question. And I tell you, if they give you a patient's Bill of Rights thing beforehand, that's a real good way also to open up the patient. If you wish to give up your right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used as evidence against you at your commitment hearing in a court of law. So they got to eliminate any loss of freedom or see, the comment sections that I read in some of these news stories, one of them brought up they're scared that they're going to lose their baby, but their professional licenses and everything else.
Oh, everything. Yeah.
Oh, they had and don't forget October 3rd, 2013, when the U.S. Capitol Police and the U.S. Secret Service brutally murdered that woman from Connecticut who had made that wrong turn near the White House.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then, but she's some crazy nutcase. She suffered postpartum depression.
Right.
Get real. And none of those goons are facing any criminal charges for
That's
that. So,
because they're government workers and they get to claim all kinds of immunities. Tom, thanks for the call. And I did find some information here from CNN where it says the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics, also recommends screening women during the perinatal period. So it sounds as though it might be something that winds up getting implemented and adopted not through legislation, but just through, like some sort of regulation of the doctors' associations.
I'd like to read the description of the USPSTF from their website because it's kind of scary. Created in 1984, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force is an independent volunteer panel of national experts in prevention and evidence-based medicine. The task force works to improve the health of all Americans by making evidence-based recommendations about clinical preventive services such as screenings, counseling services, and preventative medications. All recommendations are published on the task force's website and or in a peer-reviewed journal. Task force members come from the fields of preventative medicine and primary care, including internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, behavioral health, obstetrics, and gynecology and nursing. Their recommendations are based on a rigorous review of existing peer-reviewed evidence and are intended to help primary care clinicians and patients decide together whether a preventative service is right for the patient's needs.
Basically, we're doing an internal investigation and determining what it is that we should be asking our patients and then telling the patients, this is what we have determined is best for you.
No, let me break it down a little bit more. If we wish to continue funding the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force, this means that we have to constantly pump out the most ridiculous or at least scary sounding studies. Or they're going to cut off our money.
They break it down further. So they say the task force assigns each recommendation a letter grade, an A, B, C, or D grade, or an I statement, based on the strength of evidence and the balance of the benefits and harms of a preventative service. The recommendations apply only to people who have no signs or symptoms of the specific disease or condition under evaluation.
But you have to do an evaluation to determine if they have signs or symptoms of the evaluation. And let's go back to the phones. We can talk about this USP, whatever it is, a little bit more next hour. But we've got another Tom calling in Baltimore. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Yeah, that is pretty ominous. Wow. Yeah, if you ever go to a hospital with your significant other to have a child, they do some pretty creepy, ominous things. And I didn't realize it until a friend of mine told me to look out for certain things that they do. And it was after, having my child, and I realized after talking to yet another friend who I was filling in on what I was told that, these things happen. For example, it's real difficult, and a good friend of mine about 10 years ago tried this, and he said, you know what, they got me. What they do, you cannot go into the hospital to have a baby, again, with your significant other, and not be separated from your child at some point in time. My friend tried it. He said, I thought he was taking it as a joke. He said, I didn't think it was true. He said, but you know what? We both ended up falling asleep, and he said we woke up, or he woke up, and he woke his wife up, and the baby was gone. And sure enough, And he said it was so weird because he was trying to stay up the whole time. He knew his wife would, of course, after going through labor, be sleeping a lot. And he said, I could have been asleep for more than 20 minutes.
Right.
When, sure enough, they came in and got the kid. And he said, I really gave him the third degree on why'd you do that and what happened during that 20 minutes. And they said, we just wanted to get him caught up on all the shots and the different, I can't remember what type of medicine it was, some type of preventive stuff. He said, but I never gave you permission for that. And they said, well, in the papers that you signed,
exactly.
You did, but it's just really creepy when you think about it. I mean, even to the point where they're right over your shoulder when you try to leave, wanting to know, do you have a car seat? Is the proper kind of car seat? Do you know how to put it in? Because we can't let you leave unless you have all this.
Tom, I'm not sure if there's more to your call, but we'll hold you over through the news, bring you back in hour number 3. This is Free Talk Live.
Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof form of money to the people, where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom and the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it, and they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
If you want to play online poker with Bitcoin, you need a site that's trustworthy and technically sound. The site managers of swcpoker.eu have proven their commitment to bringing you great gameplay from a site you can trust, swcpoker.eu. They have lots of new games too, including Chinese poker, and their Krill leaderboard is open right now. It's a beautiful site, easy to use with lots of players. Go on over to swcpoker.eu now and have some fun with your Bitcoin. swcpoker.eu.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, January 28th, 2016. Silver is trading at $14.47 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,122 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $385. Antiwar.com reports ongoing tensions between Iraq's central government and the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG. Looks like they're going to be getting much worse, with Kifa Mahmoud, an advisor to the Kurdish president, reporting that the KRG has agreed to a referendum on declaring independence from Iraq. The Kurds have had long-standing ambitions to secede from Iraq, and officials have talked up the idea of withdrawing from Iraq as soon as the war with the Islamic State is over. The United States government has opposed this, saying they want a unified Iraq. The biggest question arising from a possible secession of Kurdistan is what territory they'll take with them, as early in the Islamic State war they seized key oil-producing regions, including Kirkuk, and more recently have been expelling Arabs from the Sinjar area to try to make it a Kurdish Yazidi-dominated region as well. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider Abadi's office offered a warning against any unilateral votes by the Kurdistan Regional Government, saying a vote would be against the Constitution and illegal. The central government has seen the risk of secession coming for a while and has pushed against arming the Kurds Kurds to fight against the Islamic State on fear that the heavily armed Kurdish Peshmerga would be able to fight a war of secession. The legal question may matter less and less as time goes on, however, as the Peshmerga has gotten a lot of weaponry, and Iraq's military is scarcely in a position to contest a secession by anyone with so much of the country already under control of the Islamic State. Iraqi Kurdish secession could also fuel a regional split with the Kurdish YPG in northeastern Syria and growing Kurdish unrest in southeastern Turkey. Both of those countries could find themselves looking to join a unified Kurdistan. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports an agreement between the United States Department of Justice and the city of Ferguson, Missouri seeks to completely overhaul the city's system of justice and eliminate unlawful arrest, according to documents released on Wednesday. The agreement is the result of many months of investigating by justice officials into the protocols and practices of the Ferguson Police Department following the controversial death of Michael Brown. The accord specifies that Ferguson's justice system is to be rebuilt, unlawful arrest to be eliminated, and criminal courts to operate independently from prosecutors. It also protects the rights of citizens to video record or take still photos of police officers in the course of their job. Although an agreement was reached, it still requires a public comment period and final approval by the Ferguson City Council. Former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said in March that federal authorities would completely disband the city's police department if necessary. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the leader of a month-long occupation of a federal wildlife refuge in Oregon urged remaining protesters on Wednesday to leave the site and go home a day after his arrest and the death of a supporter. Ammon Bundy, who was taken into custody with several members of the group at a traffic stop along Highway 395 north of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in southeast Oregon, urged federal authorities to let his comrades leave the compound without being prosecuted. In a statement read by his attorney, Michael Arnold, following a court hearing, Bundy said, "To those remaining at the refuge, I love you. Let us take this fight from here. Please stand down. Please stand down. Go home and hug your families. Please go back." Law enforcement surrounded the refuge and blocked off access roads on Tuesday evening after Bundy and his group were taken into custody at the traffic stop. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A Japanese-American internment facility was still in operation in the mountains of Northern California. The facility should have been closed in 1945 and its 6,000 residents released, but unfortunately the camp was overlooked until this week. I am happy to announce, however, that the remaining 118 detainees have now been fully exonerated of suspicion of spying for General Tojo, and they have been freed. Next item of business. The President will be meeting with the Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd. Yes, Denise?
This is a huge oversight. How could this have happened?
Well, Denise, it looks like the camp just somehow slipped through the cracks. The end of the Second World War was a hectic time in America, and it's only natural that we let a couple of things slip in our excitement over defeating the Nazis.
Who was going to be held responsible for this? Congressional investigation?
No, there won't. In fact, the War Relocation Authority was responsible for the decommissioning of the internment facilities, but that organization ceased to exist in 1946, so no.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Kicking off hour number 3. This is Free Talk Live. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris, and Johnson.
And we have been, well, we started off talking about the Oregon situation. We never did really delve into that too deeply, other than to say that the story that we had from earlier today, about 2 o'clock this afternoon, was that there were about 5 people left at the Malheur Wildlife Reserve, and they said that they would leave on the condition that they were guaranteed that they would be able to leave and that they would not wind up being arrested, detained, or otherwise prevented from leaving. And then we started getting phone calls, and we've been talking about how justice would work in a free society. Do smart people ever buy insurance? Is insurance the answer to justice in a free society? And then mandatory testing and having a baby in a hospital. Is it something that one should do? If you do, then are you basically unwittingly subjecting yourself to the diktats of the hospital staff? And we have Tom in Baltimore. Tom, we kept you over from the last hour. You were telling us about a friend of yours who went into a hospital with his wife to have a baby, and they thought, we'll be able to keep the baby in the room with us the entire stay. But that was not the case.
Yeah, I apologize for, getting off topic. Things are kind of all over the place. And would you believe it? I had to sit through another lesson from the complicated, godless, weird analogy guy again. Remember yesterday I was on hold for that whole weird description of his philosophy, and I couldn't believe it. It was like deja vu. Here he was again.
At least he did not go into detail about some of the weird fantasies that he has with Mark. If you missed it, you have to listen to the show. And wow. So continue, Tom.
I was pretty much done with the hospital thing. The second guy that was speaking, the last caller prior to when you picked my call up, that was interesting. Just another example of government overreach. So I just wanted to comment on the baby thing. It brought that to mind. What I really called in for, though, and I hope he's still listening, is Ralph. That guy, I get a kick out of him.
That's Ralph in New Jersey, one of the callers. He calls in quite frequently, and he's sort of a one-trick pony. He will, change up how he gets to his trick, but once he gets there, it's the same trick, and it's Obama and white liberal guilt.
Yeah, it's like, y'all are racist. We're not racist. See, you're talking about race.
He toys with you, gentlemen. I had a friend of mine say to me about 3 weeks ago, he said, come here. You got to hear this guy. And he also called a friend of his over. He said to her, listen, this guy, he hates all white people. Listen to him. And he's always with everyone the same thing, but we should all feel guilty. Well, I knew right away because of the accent that it was Ralph. And listen, I have a different take on it. That's why I said I hope he's still listening. I've heard him on other talk shows, and that's why I say he toys with you guys because he knows he can get a rise out of you. Ralph is really smart. He makes some very cogent arguments about all sorts of things. I really enjoy listening to him, and like I said, I really get a kick out of him when he calls here because you're right. He gets you guys going. But listen, here's my take, and I hope he calls back to let me know if I'm right or not.
Well, he can't call tonight because we do have a one call per show rule, but he can call back tomorrow and let us know if he listened to you talking about him tonight.
Yeah, I don't think he believes that you guys are racist at all. I don't think he's racist at one bit. I think what he's saying is this. When he brings up the white guilty thing, and I think he just throws on the LY on the end because it sounds funny. It gets people kind of confused at first. But he's not saying that you should be guilty. He's saying that because you kind of handle certain subjects, not you, but a lot of white people in general handle certain subjects with kid gloves, that to him, he perceives that as kind of a hidden white guilt that one might have. That's why he said that about Christie. Now, for someone, and he brought to mind tonight a colleague of mine who used to do an Al Jolson routine. I don't know if you know who Al Jolson is. You guys?
Yeah, he's the famous actor from back, like the 1920s, 30s, was famous for doing blackface.
Mammy.
Right. Well, a lot of people thought that my colleague was a racist. Now, for many years, he did this routine, and he worked for the city at the time, and the command staff knew about it, and no one had a problem with it. He performed mostly at private parties and at his brother's bar. And when he started to get a little bit of notoriety, he got a job at the Hilton downtown. Well, that's when newspaper articles started coming out about it, and that's when certain groups got involved and said, you know what, that's wrong, it's racist. I don't know if they realized that Al Jolson, who actually was a Jewish guy, his real name was Asa, I don't know, Youssef or something. Anyway, the real Al Jolson actually was very much an advocate of helping African Americans, and he's known for actually fighting against discrimination, helping blacks get parts on Broadway, and so was my colleague. He would give anyone the shirt off his back if they needed it, and eventually he had to leave the department. He was asked to leave to retire early because his act was just bringing too much attention to the department. And he just got a new bar. He still does it. In fact, they made a movie about him. You can look him up. His name is Bobby Berger. Just Google Bobby Berger, Baltimore policeman, and I'm sure something will come up. Probably a lot of stuff. And anyway, here's my take. Ralph would look at him and say he's not white guilty because he's not. He didn't have any problem dealing with real life issues in a very real way. He didn't skirt around them. He didn't handle them with kid gloves. He was out in the open. I think Ralph would look at him and say, yeah, he's not white guilty because he's not hiding something. He doesn't feel guilty about anything because he loves everybody.
I'm not guilty. I'm just not an a-hole about things.
No, my colleague wasn't either. And I don't think Ralph is saying that, you have to be an a-hole. I think what he's saying is, and of course he's making a presumptuous leap, and that's where he's, just doing that shit to rise out of you guys. I think what he's saying is that if you skirt around certain issues or I don't know, maybe reticent to say certain words, and not that those words would be insulting or anything, but he picks up, like I said, he's really smart. He picks up on little nuances, and if he feels like, you're skirting around certain things in an attempt to be a good guy and not to offend on your part, he looks at that and he teases you. He says, you're white guilty. That's what he's talking about. Now, I think as far as Obama's concerned, I'm not quite sure what his opinion. I don't think he likes him at all. I think he looks at him as a big phony. That's what I say, and he would be right in my opinion. But that's my take on Ralph. I love listening to him, especially when, like I said, I laugh when he messes with you guys. When he actually talks with other talk shows about actual issues, he's really smart, and I enjoy listening to the points that he makes.
I wish he would call and talk to us like he talks to the other talk shows, because I would love to get something other than just this one-trick pony from Ralph.
He's having too much fun with you.
That's it.
I would love it, and Ralph would probably be very surprised to learn that I used to live in the hood. Like, when I say in the hood, I mean the hood. I used to live in the hood. Did you? 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. Following sharp increases yesterday, in early trading on Wednesday, gold is $2 lower at $1,118 per ounce. Silver is down 3 cents at $14.54 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $395 US. We have plenty of new 2016 Silver American Eagles in stock. Get yours online at rrbi.co or give us a call at 800-874-9760.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll get back to your phone calls in just a second. But if you've got a business, or even if you run some sort of organization that needs to do some promotions, or if you just want to make sure that you've got personal business cards, because you never know when you're going to wind up running into somebody and needing to give them contact info, well, you can get 500 business cards starting at $9.99 from Vistaprint. And when you go to Vistaprint.com, make sure you use promo code FTL at checkout, and you can get those 500 business cards starting at $9.99. Don't need business cards? That's fine. Well, they've got other things. They've got postcards, flyers, banners, apparel, invitations, and so much more. So head over to Vistaprint.com. Use code FTL at checkout, and you can get 500 business cards starting at $9.99. That's a saving of up to 50% off the regular price. That's an amazing deal. Vistaprint.com, code FTL. Back to the phones, and we have Toby calling in from our very own Keene, New Hampshire. Toby, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Johnson. What's on your mind?
Hi, I was just calling. I wanted to counter one of the points that the previous caller made about the blanket sweeping statement that you can't stay with your kids the entire time you're in the hospital. I've had very different experiences in the hospital. I've been there twice to have kids, and so that might be true in some hospitals, but they're not all built the same. I found my experience to be excellent both times and really felt like my wishes as a parent were really taken into account. Never once did they try to take the kids away from myself or my wife without us present. They asked us, what we wanted for everything and got consent for everything. And if we didn't want something, they were really respectful about it. So just didn't want to, it was bothering me to let the blanket statement like that just.
Did you ever fall asleep?
I'm sure some hospitals are like that.
Did you ever fall asleep? Was there any time where they could have taken the kids without your knowledge?
No, there was always one of us awake.
Yeah. I agree with you, too, completely. My son was born many years ago. But it amazed me how far they've come in the idea of birthing rooms and everything that they did. It was expensive as hell. But it was pretty impressive, the lengths they went to make sure that everybody was comfortable, not just the mother and not just the child.
Yeah, and everybody's rights being respected, too. And so, there are things like you sign off on, and if you don't read them, they might do them. But if you read the paperwork you're signing, it'll say, I want my kid to have this shot in these tests, or I don't. I want this to happen. I want them to take the kid so I can get extra sleep or not. So, I mean, if you just sign stuff without reading it or something, that might be true.
Well, and a lot of times... A lot of times the nursing staff will just, come hand you a bunch of papers and say, we need you to sign these. And then the parents ask, well, what are they? Well, this one, it's just, standard papers that you have to sign. Right. Just standard stuff, sign it, don't worry about it. It's just to say that, we can take care of your kid.
I'm just wondering if the medical staff ever had, golden-colored eyes or a third eyelid or any of that kind of stuff.
What?
I think
I think some of that does.
Please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that some hospitals might be like that and just throw stuff in your face. But at least my experience from the local hospital here, where I'm from, was not like that at all. Didn't just shove anything in our face and say, "Hey, sign this." Everything was really explained and respectful and everything else. So I don't like blanket statements like that. I get it that it's happened sometimes and people's experiences are different. Just anytime there's a blanket statement of you can't ever be in a hospital and not have your kids taken away from you, it irks me. That's all.
Yep, I agree completely.
Toby, thank you so much for the call. And we go to Armed Truth in Southern California, who also wants to talk about having a baby in a hospital. Much better than having a baby in the middle of the desert, I guess. Armed Truth, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, we were contemplating the desert situation, but chose the hospital instead. From the hospital I went to, overall, they were pretty good, but they can actually take your baby, and it had happened once with my wife. I had gone out. She had a C-section, so she was kind of out of it in the hospital. And they came in and said, "Oh, do you want us to take the baby and we can watch it for a while and you can get some sleep?" And I was gone, and my wife kind of, she was pretty out of it, so she said, "Oh, okay, sure, take the baby." So they took the baby, and they have this separate area, where they keep, all the babies together. And I got back and I said, where the hell's the baby? She said, "Oh, they took her away for a little while to watch her." So I went and got her, and I walked in. There was like a dozen babies and one nurse who, wasn't even in the room half the time with the babies crying. So we never allowed them to take the baby again. But the big thing down here is, and we're not, I wouldn't consider us, anti-vaxxers or anything like that, but we were very wary of what we wanted to be put into our child.
Right.
And the doctor that we got out and they assigned this doctor, and we went and told the doctor, our baby was basically fresh out of the hospital, and we, wanted to wait on vaccines until she got a little older, until her body is more developed. And we said, well, we're going to wait on the vaccines. We're not sure, we're not going to give her vaccines immediately. And this doctor was insane. She basically snapped and told us, if you're not going to listen to what I have to say, then, what are you going to listen to me if your daughter has an ear infection and, I want to give her medicine to get her ear fixed? You're not even going to listen to me on vaccines and what I say, then I don't even think we should be together anymore. Basically,
she broke up with you.
She broke up with us. But she was nuts about it when we said, no, we want to wait a while to get vaccines. She basically snapped and was extremely pushy the whole time. We need to give it today. We're going to give it to you today.
And the interesting thing about vaccines is my understanding of the way that there are exemptions in certain states for philosophical exemptions, but it's an all or none exemption. If you decide, yes, I think that my child should be vaccinated from mumps and measles and rubella, and you tell the doctor those are the only ones that I want you to vaccinate my child on, the doctor, they can't say, okay, I will only give those, because it's an all or none. Either you're, conscientiously objecting or philosophically objecting, or you have a religious objection to all vaccines, or you have that objection for no vaccines. There is no what I would call informed consent on, each vaccine independent of one another.
That's
and I want your experience with this, Armed Truth, will hold you over, because I do want, experience or thoughts from somebody with more recent experience on this than anyone in this room right now. And, of course, your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And there's some breaking news. The FBI has released unedited video of the shooting of Lavoy Finicum. And the video, I will post a link on the Facebook page, facebook.freetalklive.com. It's a 26-minute, 28-second video. The video section, or the section that shows the shooting, begins around the 9-minute mark. So, again, I will post the link over on the Facebook page. You can watch that if you decide that that's something that you want to do. But we will go back to your thoughts and your calls. Armed Truth calling in from Southern California, talking about the experience having a child in a hospital. And I asked the question about vaccinations because you had said that you told the baby doctor that there were some vaccinations that you did not want right away, that you wanted to wait until the child was a little older. And so then I asked the question about, my understanding of the objections, whether it be philosophical objection or religious objection, is that it's an all or none sort of thing. You can't pick and choose which ones you're okay with. So it's not a medical objection. It's you're either opposed to us injecting you with things or you're not. And is that your experience, that it's an all or none situation?
Not really, to some extent, because she's 15 months now. We went to the doctor at a year checkup, and said, we got a new doctor, obviously. She's really nice. She kind of explained the situation. She said, whenever you're ready, we can give her the vaccines. So we did give her one. We gave her the pneumonia, streptococcus, I think it was, or something, vaccine. But the problem here is more for schooling now. California, they made it so you can't be exempt for not having the vaccines, because the MMR, the one you were talking about, I know that one's bad. So we're trying to give her one vaccine slowly at a time to see if she has any reaction to them. But you could technically, we're kind of trying to pick and choose which ones we want at this time. It's not necessarily you have to get them all at once. Some are grouped together, like the MMR. But the big problem here is, if you feel like you don't want to give your child any vaccines here, which I think it's a parent's choice to choose, what they want to give their child. Now the state is saying, no, you have to have them all for school. So we're contemplating, we're getting ready to move out of the state anyway. But, it's not really a pick and choose. Or it is, you can kind of pick and choose to some extent.
Right. So where do you plan on going to from Southern California? Any plans to come up here to New Hampshire for the Free State Project?
Unfortunately, no. We kind of have talked about it. She actually really likes your show as well. We've talked about it, but we are actually going to be moving up to Washington, Idaho area for now, and then possibly, she's Irish, so we may be moving to the UK in the future as well, but
cool.
I don't want to move to the UK. The UK would be a disaster.
Yeah, because, well, you are armed truth, and you would not be allowed to arm yourself in the UK unless you arm yourself with some really ancient weaponry, which technically would still be an arm, but definitely not what most people in the U.S. think of when they think of arms.
No, it's bad. Her brother got arrested. He actually had basically a pocket knife. If you were in, I know New Hampshire, you're hunting that, you have a decent pocket, sized hunting knife, pocket knife in your pocket. He actually got arrested over there for it. And there was a guy who got arrested for having a fake, kind of like a pirate sword, one of the kids had.
Right.
The police thought it was a real sword, and he had gotten arrested for it. So it is a disaster over there. It's called stripping your rights, so it's getting worse and worse. But she has family that lives there.
And I think we lost Armed Truth. I don't know what happened there. Let's see if we have Josh in Lincoln, Nebraska. Josh, you're on Free Talk Live. And no, our phone system has completely crashed. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulties.
Well, side note, I mean, I was scanning while that last caller was on. I was scanning the video of Lavoy being shot, and it's again looks to me to be another one of these cases where, at least from this view of this drone or helicopter or whatever it is,
absolutely drone. First of all,
he comes out of his truck with his arms over his head, brings his arms down, puts them into his pockets, appears to take out what appears to be a firearm from here in, a ready position, not pointed at the ground, not like he's dropping the gun, and he gets shot because he takes a gun out of his pocket, and the agent, he starts turning around, and the agent shoots him.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to play a little bit of this and give you the play-by-play of what I see. I'm starting
Go to the very last two. If this is the 8-minute long
I'm
video,
starting, it's 26 minutes and 28 seconds that I'm watching.
I've got an 8-minute one.
So
that's
I'm
the
at
last
the
2 minutes.
9-minute, 18-second mark, and you see him running in the snow after having swerved around a roadblock where there are 3 vehicles in the middle of the road, and there's snowbanks on either side. He had swerved on the left side of the road, and someone had jumped basically in front of his vehicle. And then the device that's filming sort of shook out of the way. So you can't tell necessarily if he hit the person or what. But then it goes back in screen. He's standing a few feet away from the vehicle that's in a snowbank. And he's right now holding his arms out to his, straight out side to side. And I start the video again. It looks like he reaches into his belt.
Doesn't look like anybody was
something
hit.
Out of his, possibly out of his belt loop or out of his belt or out of a holster. You can't tell because, again, it's overhead.
Right.
And it's,
did he just go to put his hands behind his back?
It looks like a gun to me.
It did not look like he went to put his hands behind his back because he grabbed something and then he's holding it in front of him.
Right.
And then he winds up getting shot, and he's laying on the ground. Police are circling from a distance. He is moving his right hand, and it appears as though right now he is no longer moving at the 9-minute 51-second mark. And then there was some kind of flash in there's several flashes. I don't know if those are road flares.
No, they're firing into the vehicle at that point.
Okay, so Chris says that they're firing into the vehicle, and I again can't really tell what's happening because of the angle here. There's trees in the shot between this drone or helicopter or whatever it is and the vehicle, and so
to me,
this is
that
now
action,
the 10-minute and 30-second mark.
When he
of
takes
the
his
video.
hands down, it really looks like he's drawing a firearm to me.
He may very well be. What I, just in a quick skim from 5 feet away from a monitor and looking at the video, what I will say is this does sound pretty much like Shauna Cox. You guys asked me who Shauna was earlier. I apologize. Shauna Cox is a friend of the Bundy family, and she, I believe, lives in Utah. But she's been up there with the Bundys in Oregon. And, as far as everything is, they decided to go, and they hit a snowbank. They went out, and that Lavoy jumped out of the car. He had his hands raised up. According to her, he said, "What are you going to do? You just going to shoot me? You're going to shoot me dead?" And according to her, they did.
We have disconnected from the network, apparently.
Belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more?
Oh, we
if you
didn't
support freedom in the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com. There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
Are you sneezing, coughing, and aching? Do you have a sore throat, a fever, or the sniffles? There's no reason to be sick this cold and flu season with immune system support from Supernatural Silver. Supernatural Silver can give your body the help it needs to fight off harmful pathogens without hurting beneficial gut flora and without leaving behind resistant bacteria. Antibiotics can damage good microflora and often leave behind bacteria which can cause problems later on. If you're sick of being sick, try Supernatural Silver. Supernatural Silver, the #1 choice of thousands for a safe and effective way to protect against the many diseases and illnesses that we are facing today. Go to supernaturalsilver.com, read our customer reviews, and see the life-changing results that people are having. That's supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. Use the promo code PRINTED for 20% off your entire order. And like us on Facebook. Supernatural Silver.
If you're David, a few well-chosen words can help level the playing field with Goliath. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. Recently, I saw a Yellow Pages ad for an appliance repair company, and the headline read, "Why wait for Sears?" If you're going to the Yellow Pages, the Dead Sea Scrolls of advertising, you're ready to buy right now. So this is an attention-grabbing message. And how about the plumber whose radio ad says, "Call by noon Thursday, and we'll be there Saturday at no extra cost"? Smart guy. Most plumbing firms give their crew the weekend off. This one gives them Sunday and Monday off. In the words of a respected advertising executive, cut to the chase, make it quick, and tell me exactly what you can do for me, especially if you're looking for work. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for lrn.fm in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. Here in the final segment, still time for you and your thoughts. If you call in right now, we did figure out what had happened with the phone software. Apparently, there was a technical difficulty on our end and something disconnected. And, well, it's reconnected now, so we can take your calls here in these final moments. 855-450-FREE. And before we go over, we were talking about the video that got released by the FBI showing the shooting death of Lavoy Finicum. Before we go back over that a little bit, and I've actually got quotes from the special agent in charge of the FBI field office in Portland, want to make sure that I tell you how you can wind up saving 20, 25, 30, 35% or more on things that you're going to buy online anyway.
Ian saved 50% today.
Yes, he did. He bought some two-way radios for 50% off because he went to saveatpurse.com. That's saveatpurse.com, and he used Bitcoin to buy things from Amazon. So that's the catch. You put things in an Amazon shopping wish list. Well, that's one way. If you want to name your own price, you have to put things in a shopping wish list on Amazon. Then go to saveatpurse.com, insert the wish list onto saveatpurse.com, and then pay with Bitcoin. You get to name your price up to 50% off. You can get a guaranteed 5% off, and all you're doing is just going to saveatpurse.com, and you're paying with Bitcoin. So that's saveatpurse.com. So we have all watched this video a little bit, like the relevant minute of video here that was released by the FBI. And there's a quote here from USA Today from Greg Bretzing, the special agent in charge of the FBI field office in Portland, who says, "I want to caution you that the video does show the shooting death of Lavoy Finicum. We realize that viewing that piece of video will be upsetting to some people, but we feel it is necessary to show the whole thing unedited in the interest of transparency." And I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised that there's a government agent that is doing something for the sake of transparency.
No, to be fair. Well, not to be fair, because I'm not feeling really fair about this right now. But if that would have shown anything else other than what appears to clearly show Lavoy reaching for something and then being justified in shooting, okay, now we get transparency.
Yeah.
Every other time when there's any question, then it's subpoena, it's FOIA requests, it's stalling and everything else. So, yeah, sorry, FBI, you don't get props for being, quote, transparent, unquote.
I think he may have chosen that word because he knows that it's kind of a buzzword now to where, people want government transparency. So because it fits into basically their narrative, he is being transparent. He does give a quote about what happens, and again, we were watching and saying that this is what we thought we saw, but Britzing says Finicum leaves the truck and steps through the snow. Agents and troopers on the scene had information that Finicum and others would be armed. On at least 2 occasions, Finicum reaches his right hand towards a pocket on the left inside portion of his jacket. He did have a loaded 9mm semi-automatic handgun in that pocket. At this time, OSP, that would be Oregon State Police, shot Finicum. FBI agents are not generally equipped with body cameras, but video of the incident involving Finicum was captured by accompanying law enforcement. An official familiar with the matter said on Thursday, but he would not comment publicly, and they say that he was not authorized to do so. And Eamon Bundy, who was the purported leader of the group there in the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, speaking through his attorney, has recommended to people that they go home. And as we reported at the beginning of the show, the 5 remaining people, or at least the 5 that were there as of 2:13 p.m., I believe this might be Pacific time, I'm not positive, said that they would leave if they were given assurances that they would wind up being able to leave without being arrested or worse.
Yeah. Heavy on the worst there.
So, what are your thoughts on this, Chris? Do you think that they're going to be able to leave, or do you think something bad is going to happen to these last 5 individuals?
I suspect that the government will try to play both sides. So we had to get hard with Eamon, and we had to get hard with Lavoy. But look, now we are we're going to be understanding and compassionate. We're going to let these people go back to their families, and we will simply track them for the rest of their natural-born lives every way possible. That's what I suspect. But
Johnson?
that's just a guess.
Yeah, I completely agree with Chris. That's a pretty easy guess to make, unfortunately. This is where this situation is at.
And looking here, the most recent news article that I'm seeing is, at least according to the Google News, the way it filtered from a few hours ago, that says that just 4 people remain at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. The group spoke with OPB, which is the, I think, Oregon Public Broadcasters, spoke with them by phone. Sandy Anderson said, "We all want to leave. We're here, and we're worried we're going to die." 3 people turned themselves in at a checkpoint outside the refuge Wednesday afternoon and are facing felony charges. Police said another 5 people were stopped and allowed to leave the refuge since law enforcement blocked roads around the area. David Fry said he spoke to an FBI negotiator 3 times in the last 24 hours, said the group is prepared to leave peacefully, but they fear arrest. And, well, based on the statement from Sandy Anderson, I think they're fearing something worse than arrest. And, again, I would not say that their fears are completely unjustified or unwarranted. Fry said, as a group, we were willing to leave peacefully, but they want to arrest Sean. That's Sean Anderson, one of the people there who has been told that there is a federal warrant for his arrest on charges of interfering with federal employees. Fry says, but they want to arrest Sean and take Sean out and put him in jail. We don't want to leave Sean in that situation, but that feels unfair. Fry said it was not clear to him why Anderson had been singled out for arrest, but Anderson had spent comparatively little time at the refuge. He said the 4 had eaten scrambled eggs for breakfast and had just spoken with their families on Wednesday night. Fry added, they don't want us to die. They're begging us to come home. Go to prison for 5 years is what they're saying. So what if you were in this situation, what would you do? If your choices were you can, hope that they'll let you leave alive and you might go to jail for 5 years, or you can stay and possibly die.
Oh, if you stay, you're gonna die. I think that would be the conclusion that I would come to, that unless this is resolved to completion.
I guess the question then becomes rather a how, not if.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a roll of the dice for those folks to come out. And to be clear, I mean, at least what I've seen in most of at least the published charges and things like that, the only thing I see in this, interfering with law enforcement, everything seems to reference a social media post. Well, on this blog, Eamon Bundy published this, and here he published this. And I keep hearing this about all these people involved, and then Pete Santilli's wrapped up in all this too, and he's an independent journalist. Is the crime are people actually being charged with interfering with with a federal police officer? Is it strictly based on what they're publishing on YouTube, or excuse me, on Facebook? And
possibly. And Fry said that people leaving the refuge had taken most of the food and supplies, but left many of the guns behind. He fears being arrested and spending time in prison, in part because he's been harassed on social media and over email. Says that people are sharing his home address. And, well, we won't do that at Free Talk Live. You can call in, again, anytime tomorrow, 7 to 10 p.m., 855 450 free, online at freetalklive.com. Until then.
Free Talk Live.
This was the quote from the DEA's paperwork. Only products that were primarily intended or designed for use in injecting, ingesting, inhaling, or otherwise introducing marijuana and other controlled substances into the human body.
Injects marijuana?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how out of touch these people are.
They're trying to make it look like marijuana users are strung
Injecting
out heroin junkies.
Right.
And it's just not true.
No.
Look, if you were to ever even try to put plant material in a syringe and inject that into your veins,
it's going to go poorly for you.
It's going to work once. You're going to get high one last time if you even make it to that point.
Yeah. That's not a good idea.
Never in the history of marijuana consumption has anyone ever injected it into their veins.
Yeah. Kids, don't try that at home.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal